The Qantas chair, Richard Goyder, will retire from his position, but not until late next year. The airline's board announced this morning that Goyder would stand down at some point between now and the company's annual general meeting in 2024. Its AGM for this year will take place on November 3rd, where it's expected shareholders will pass their judgment on his stewardship of Qantas. In a statement, Mr Goyder says the board acknowledges the significant reputational and customer service issues facing Qantas and recognise that accountability is required to restore trust. He went on to again apologise for the times the airline got it wrong. The Transport Workers Union has been calling for Richard Goyder to resign for several weeks now. Its Secretary Michael Cain joined me a short time ago. Michael Cain, Secretary of the Transport Workers Union, thanks for your time. Richard Goyder has announced he's stepping down before next year's AGM as Chair of Qantas. Do you welcome this announcement?
Well, I'd welcome the announcement that he was going if it was today, Kieran. I mean, what does he take the community for? He's treating the community, shareholders and workers with contempt here. He's basically saying, I'll go in my own good time. I'll retire. How about around about the AGM next year, 2024, after I've pocketed another $750,000 for the privilege. Kieran, this is a chair that has overseen, been complicit with, cheered in the decisions of the former CEO, one of which was to have his team, or permit his team, to illegally sack 1,700 workers. And the High Court now has unanimously found that to be the case. This is a chair that has the ACCC breathing down his neck, has class actions on his doorstep. This is a CEO that's in Alan Joyce that he cheered on every day of the week, and the community's had enough. Richard Goyder has been tin-eared for the last number of weeks. It's taken him weeks to come to the conclusion that he had to say something. This something, though, is immensely disappointing for those that want to rebuild Qantas. He needs to go now so he can start that rebuild process now.
In the statement, he said that a measured and orderly succession of the board will support the new management, the new CEO. Is that in the best interests of the airline, a measured succession, as he puts it?
There's nothing measured about what's going on at Qantas at the moment. It's in absolute freefall. And Goyder's words are not soothing. They're not soothing to the markets, to shareholders. They're not soothing to the community or to workers. Every time he opens his mouth and reveals and exposes the tin ear that he's got about what has happened in Qantas and his role in it, then measured goes out the window. The most measured thing that Richard Goyder can do is to do and replicate the one good thing Alan Joyce did, and that is to get out early and get out now.
When you look at the position of the chair, what was the tipping point in your view? Was it the pay rise in the face of nothing like that happening for the workforce? Was it the brand damage overall? Was there a moment, the illegal sacking of the ground workers? In your opinion, which was the tipping point for this chairman?
Well, look, Kieran, I think your question really does expose Richard Goyder's problem here. It has been a catastrophe on top of catastrophe for Qantas, and it's been a catastrophe while he has been in the chair. His job is literally to hold management to account, and he failed in that. He has got a massive cross against his name. And then when he's asked about this in the Senate inquiry just last week, he's got a tin ear again. He says, I have high ethics when I do my duties as a chair. High ethics, he says. And this is the chairman that, of course, has presided over this conduct together with Alan Joyce. So, you know, when you've got a tin ear, when you won't listen to the community, when you won't listen to shareholders, to workers, when you can't read the tea leaves even when they're right in front of you, you've got to question the judgment and how much of a measured approach he can bring. What value add does he bring when he's shown that his judgment has been so poor in the past? What value add does he bring for the future? There should be real concerns of shareholders, there are real concerns of workers, and the community should be concerned, and concerned until the day that he says, I'm going, and that day should be today, not next year.
At that Senate committee, he said that he's still got this backing of the majority of the major shareholders. What are you picking up? No doubt you've been in touch with several of them. What's the mood like among that cohort of major shareholders of the national carrier?
Well, as they say, a week is a long time in this game. And a week has meant that support, such as it was then, and he couldn't really articulate unanimous support even then, that support has ebbed away. And I don't think today is going to quell that. If anything, it's going to reinforce that this is a chair with flawed judgment. How can you, after presiding over the decisions that have been made, including illegal decisions, when you've got the ACCC breathing down your neck, when you've got class actions on your doorstep, how can you, with a straight face, go to the shareholder community and the general community and say, oh, I'll finish up as chair, don't worry, when I retire, in my own good time? That's treating us all with contempt, and it shows poor judgment again from Richard Goyder, and it really is time for him to go.
Michael Caine, Secretary of the Transport Workers Union, will stay in touch. Thanks.
Thanks, Kieran.